Welcome to the Coach and Coach podcast. We are back. Man, what a day we had. But before we get started, we like to welcome everybody to the Coach and Coach podcast. I am your defensive coordinator. My job is to keep points off of the board. Sometimes it work out, sometimes it don't. But if we allow too many points, then I got my offensive coordinator right beside me. He's going to make sure that we get the points on the board and that we have an opportunity to win the ball game. We are back and we are in effect once again. Make sure you follow us. If you are following us on Facebook right now, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, share it with somebody. Tell them that the Coach and Coach podcast is on. And if you're following us on TikTok right now, hit that screen. Let us know that you're here. Show us some love tonight as we break down this Saturday and all Sunday games. But if you are on Facebook right now, share it with somebody. Those that are able to see it live. Now, if you can't catch it live, shame on you. But listen, you don't have to miss the show. On tomorrow morning, this show will be on Spotify. It will be on Apple Podcasts. It will be on Amazon or wherever you get your podcast. Just make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the Coach and Coach podcast on any platform that you use to listen to your podcast. I want you to download it, save it, set your alert so you won't ever miss an episode. And if you do that, man, we'll love you for life. Coach, what's going on, man?
Uh, you know, thank God that I can watch NFL on Fubo TV because
Oh man,
I,
oh
I
man, I had
struggled. I
Coach, I had to
struggled.
get a 1 day subscription to Sling TV.
Yeah, I struggled with. I'm a creature of habit, and YouTube TV had become home. So to get
Oh
out
man,
of my comfort zone yesterday was a struggle. But we watched some football. Uh, just been a low key weekend, hanging around the house watching football.
and Coach, it's amazing how they try to pull that. We're just trying to make sure we're helping out the consumer. No, you're not. You're trying to make a profit. Just tell us the truth. You just want to make. You made $10 last year. You just want to make $15 this year. Just tell us the truth, and then we'll be fine with it. Don't lie on me because you still increasing my bill. So you're not doing it for me at all. So for them to holler out, they're doing this for us and the consumer, and let's make sure we take care of the consumer. Quit lying to me. You're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't even know which party to be mad at. I was pretty mad at both of them.
I was mad
People
at
are like,
both.
you need to be. People are like, you don't need to just ditch YouTube TV because this is Disney's fault. And then people are like, YouTube TV, you do this every year. Like, I don't know who to be mad at. I was just mad, but we persevered and got through it.
Yeah, and
And
and Sling offered a day pass, and I got that day pass. I think my mama's mad because I think it only let you look at it on one TV. So I went and set it up for her. So I came back to the office to watch the game, and when I got home last night, she was like, "Well, that game just cut off on me." All I did was laugh because I know why it cut off because I wasn't finna not look at the game so you can look at the game.
can't do
So
your mama like that, man.
well, she had to, and she was upset. She is not a fan of the Big 12, and she said those games they just look different. And I was like, crap. Even if my mama can figure out that it looked different, then that ought to tell us a lot right there. But man, we had a big week in football. We had some big news. Some things went down on yesterday at the conclusion of the day, and we are going to talk about those things. But coach, let's jump right into it, man. Ole Miss 30 to 14 win over South Carolina, and they are firmly in the driver's seat.
They are. It's still critical. I think. When you get into the month of November, recency bias becomes a thing, and I really think there are landmines on the schedule.
Yes, it
I
is.
still I would like to see them win out. I would feel a lot better than dropping a game to Florida or Mississippi State or God forbid both of them. But you have to win the games that are in front of you. Go 1-0 each week, and last night they were able to do that. And I thought outside of the first 7 minutes of the game, I think they could pretty much controlled it from there.
Yeah, and it was one of those starts. There were some media personalities. I wouldn't call them personality that was starting some fires that probably shouldn't have been started at that time, and we won't even recognize their name. But it was there were some things that I had wrote down as the game transpired because I'm firmly I've been talking to you about this. It's just we'll get into that later. I do want to look at the numbers. Probably one of the I can't say worst games Chambliss had had. Now his first few passes were horrible.
I
They
think
were
he was.
horrible.
You said you're gonna have the stats, so you could correct me, but I think he was 1 of 4 for 0 yards on his first 5 passes.
Oh, that's correct. They were horrible. I think did they did they give him a gain? I thought there was a loss of one on that first pass.
It
And
might have
not
been. I know there wasn't positive yardage in the passing game, but look, South Carolina. I'm telling you, I watched film on them all week, and I thought this game made me nervous because the things that Chambliss does well in his passing game, you
yeah,
could tell defensively they were going to work to take that away, and they did. They got in his face, and those access throws were not hitches and now screens. They were forcing, by alignment, we got to try to get over the top of it or a hole shot in between the safety and the corner. And, I don't think that's his game. I think,
I was very impressed with South Carolina's defense.
yeah,
Uh,
there, and
that defensive line was better than I expected. I
oh,
listened to
yeah.
you, but then I saw what we did in Oklahoma, so I was like, okay, maybe maybe being in Oxford, that aura going from the third to the fourth quarter, and I think it had an effect on them because in that fourth quarter is really when you start seeing Ole Miss pull away. So I was very very impressed with their defensive line.
Yeah, I said it in my keys to the game that you had to find Dylan Stewart, scheme him out of it, and they did a good job for that. I think he only ended up with 3 tackles on the night, but they're very aggressive, they're very explosive. I'm telling you, like I said, I watched them all week, and they made me nervous. And credit the offensive line. The defensive line won. Their South Carolina's defensive line won some battles. Um, Early in the game, but I thought they made some adjustments. They went to the you saw some +1 runs, like
Yeah.
on the Chambliss touchdown. I thought they did some nice things to kind of scheme that away from them. And I think the entire if you looked at the entire story for the game, both we dominated both lines of scrimmage, and that ends up being the reason, in my opinion, for the outcome you got.
So what do you think has happened? Because I've watched our defensive line gradually improve throughout this year. Early on in the season, I thought they were our Achilles heel. I think now our defensive backs are our Achilles heel. They are the one that scare me. But I think I think Sellers is not a great passer. He missed we had a lot of blown coverages, and he missed some wide open guys. That that could have put that game in a different situation if he'd have made those passes, and he just wasn't able to execute those passes. How do you feel about our defensive line now? Do you feel that the defensive line is making that move to being not like last year? I'm not gonna put I'm not gonna put that pressure on them because they're not like last year, but they are looking better than they did in the early part of this year.
Yeah, you know, I've always thought that I think there's like a this is how I'll put it. Somebody is getting pushed on the on the line of scrimmage for Ole Miss. Sometimes you see them resetting the offensive line. Sometimes you see them getting reset. You think of the touchdown that Sellers scored on their after the muffed punt. They I don't know the name. I can't because it was he got double teamed like into the middle of the end zone that you couldn't see his name or his jersey number on the replay. It was zoomed in, but I was like, but what I'm getting at is there's never a stalemate. Somebody, it's like they either get blown off the ball or they're blowing them off the ball. But of the last 2 weeks, they've won a lot more
Yeah,
of resetting. And then I think in the middle, the interior of the defensive line's been fine. It's been on the edge, and I think you've seen Deshaun Womack take a step over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Umani Alan's taken a huge step over the last 2 3 weeks. And
I
those were
think that
guys that they expected. They took a chance on. They had, if you looked at their advanced analytics, they did some nice things at their previous stops. They just didn't have those those stat lines that stood out, and I believe they thought, we're going to take a chance here and hope that they'll take that next step. And I think you're finally starting to see a little bit of that.
I think the edge is getting more disciplined. I think they was very undisciplined at the early part of the year, trying to get the big play. And when you're trying to get that big play, you're going to find yourself out of position a lot more than you should be. And I think that was one of the biggest problems. But to see Ole Miss defense, they only allowed 230 yards total offense yesterday, and had a whopping 6 sacks. That was amazing. I mean, Sellers ended up with a negative 17 yards rushing due to the sacks. And this is a kid that, in a given night, he's quick. He's easy to give you 30 or 40 yards rushing, and they kept him under control. They kept him in check. And, Rashul, he had 52 yards on 12 carries. Sellers was 16 for 30, 130 yards, two interceptions. When you look at Ole Miss side, Chambliss was 12 of 21. Uh, Statistically, probably not his. Well, it's definitely his worst game of the season. Statistically, he had 159 yards rushing, one touchdown, and a horrible interception. Lacey. It's crazy. And like I said, in this generation of transfer portal, um, unless you're really into this thing. Um, Chad said it was a good game plan by Kiffin. Yeah, and we'll get into that. But Lacey, I screamed at the Georgia game. I wish he'd have got more carries. He had 24 carries. I know you had asked me yesterday. It's 200 on the docket, and I do believe if he wanted to go get it, he could have got it. I think they were just
Yeah.
basically trying to make sure that they secured a win. But he only needed 33 yards, but he ended up with 167 yards, and one touchdown. Receiving was very, minute. We only had 159 yards. We only had one receiver that had more than two receptions, and that was Lacey. He had 3 catches for 7 yards. You had Deuce Alexander, 2 for 52. Daquan Wright, 2 for 32. He had a big catch. That 24-yard catch that he had, that was a huge catch. Stribling had 2 catches for 30. Wallace had 2 catches for 28. Caden Lee had 1 catch for 10. Um, Total yards, it wasn't typical Ole Miss. They ended up with 427 yards total, which is a good day at office. It is a decent day, but it's not that typical. Just go and destroy. And I think you got to give South Carolina credit, how strong their defense was, and that Kiffin had to make adjustments to match what he was up against.
Yeah, I just go back, and I mean he said in his press conference, but early on in the game, you saw that we weren't able to win a lot of one-on-one matchups and things, and a lot of it I wouldn't even say was really the receivers. I just thought we missed some throws that we could have had too. Like they were just off, and he ended up turning to the running game, and once the running game was the one that brought them to a victory, so they danced with them. And I put it in my notes that this was the Kewan Lacey game.
Yeah.
He was terrific, and he's not only a guy that kind of falls forward for you, and could be, we've seen them where they've really only used the running game in short yardage situations, and they take these access throws and early downs. He ran away on that long touchdown run. There wasn't nobody catching him. Like he ran away from him. So I just thought that, going back to Kiffin, good game plan by Kiffin. I just thought it was good that, he didn't keep going to the well that wasn't working, and they found something that worked and rode with it.
And the thing is, Lacey is an NFL back. One of the things that they really praise about is his pass protection and how he steps up and he will take on anybody that's blitzing in. So he has been he's a huge help. I think that was the thing that we missed last year was a running back. And it hurt my soul to see Junkins go to Ohio State and win a national championship at Ohio State. But to see him with the Browns and the success, and right now, him and Dart is running, and I don't know whatever offensive rookie this year is making a name, uh, outside of those two. And I think those two are going to be the ones. One of those two is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And if I think about the Florida game last year, I think about the Kentucky game. Um, if we had that running game, and I think now we have. I I really want Diggs to pick it up as well. I don't want it to end it up. I don't want it to end up just being this one show pony. I hope Diggs can, when he did get his opportunities, you saw the difference, and it really wasn't no explosion. I think the couple of carries that he had, what I was looking at, I didn't really see him put his foot in the ground and just go. And I really want Diggs to pick it up as well because I think we're going to need both backs. We're going to need both backs to make this run because I think when Lacey had the big run, Lacey needed a sub in, but
Yeah.
you know he and it'll be good to if we could put somebody if Diggs can come in and not be Lacey. We get it. You're not going to be Lacey, but still come in and do. My bad. I'm looking at the chat. They saying we'll get to that. We'll get when we get to the SEC. We will talk about Texas when we get to the rest of the FCC.
Yeah, just going back to Diggs for a second, everybody was like, "Where's this cat at last year?" Because he's on the roster last year. He was coming off that ACL. I just, you just, I think he's still very serviceable. You just hate it for the kid because you could
Yeah.
see that it's been a long road to get
It's
back to where
full
he
of
was
yeah.
in the LSU days. But I mean, he's had his moments. I think he could be a really good back in your red zone. Where you don't need him. I think he can lean forward, fall forward, do those kind of things for you.
I don't. Did you have an opportunity to look? And I saw some analysts really look at the plays. The play that they ran, direct snap to Lacey, where they had, I believe they had Eccles and another defensive tackle in the backfield, and it was a right formation, and they came across. It's it's counterish, but you're not pulling none of your linemen. You're basically running those two H backs
Yeah,
and
you're
lead
just washing everybody down, kicking
and
and leading.
man, when I say perfect, they took on that outside shoulder. Man, you talking about joys to my eyes. And I think in order for us to improve on, inside that 10, gotta be touchdown. We cannot be settling for field goals. And last year we had Piggies. Shout out because who's with the Las Vegas Raiders right now. We had Piggies who could come in and just run people over. And I do believe that if the red zone inside the 10, not just the red zone, but inside the 10, I think at that 20 mark, Chambliss becomes more of he's a worser threat for teams in that 20 mark than he is in that 10 mark. Because in that 20, he got the opportunity to throw and run, and you have to respect that in him.
But credit to him. You go back to the Georgia game, the Oklahoma game. I think they've schemed goal line very well.
Mm.
Now, last night seemed like, which a lot of it wasn't on the goal line. They were around the 10 or the 12, and you'd see them call timeout. And to come out of the timeout, and it was still like a check with me type thing. I think the defensive structure they were getting kind of dictated some of the things they were trying to do in the red zone. But they've always had some type of something, some kind of, whether it be like you said with Pegues, or they had a two quarterback look at Georgia with Simmons and Chambliss on the field at the same time, or put your
Years they
defensive
have
lineman.
to
Yeah, they do. They do a pretty good job scheming the red zone up. I would have faith that when they think like, hey, regular O, we might struggle down here, they usually find a way to come up with something.
Is Beamer done after this year at South
I
Carolina?
think well, I don't
He
think they'll
seems
fire
done.
him. I don't think they'll fire him, but
He seems done.
I think he's going to be at Virginia Tech.
He seems done. He really the comments he made right before halftime and then after halftime, he seems like a man that just I'm gonna say enough so they can go ahead and let me go and I can go ahead and
He
collect my check.
fired Mike Shula today, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, today?
Yeah, he fired
Uh,
him today.
yeah, I mean, I think he's just
But
uh,
look, Ole Miss needs to, don't. I know you won by 16, but if Sellers, and I said it in the in our pregame breakdown that I was worried I wasn't worried about coverage breakdowns and him beating coverage down the field in the pocket. I was worried about how coverage breaks down when he rolls out, and if he could hit some guys. I mean, he had guys running open. He just couldn't hit them.
Yeah.
And I know you don't scheme that. I know that's not like you're not scheming for a pocket to break down, but they just didn't. They were some execution here away from making that a different game. You take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
But
and it's the coverage. I mean, it was a lot of even on the touchdown throw, it was busted coverage. It was just we were in a cover two, and I mean, if anybody know football, you see those corners they shot down, and that safety just made a bad. He's flat footed. He just made a bad read, and when you got somebody running full speed towards you, you cannot make that mistake. But I think for the most part, as far as keeping Sellers under control, the defensive line had a great scheme, and they were able to confuse their offensive linemen because
yeah,
most of the time they were only rushing two or three and showing a 4 or 5 man look, and the offensive linemen didn't know who was coming, and we were getting pressure with two or three, which is not shocking because Ole Miss have been getting a lot of pressure with 3 men this year.
yeah, they've had some success with their simulated looks. There's no doubt.
And me and you both, we have been an advocate against the 3 man rush over the years. We've been screaming, why are we rushing three? But these three seems to get some penetration, and they get enough. And I was pleased because one of the things I was worried about was bringing Sellers down, and they did an amazing
Yeah,
job of getting him to the ground. When they tackled him, they tackled him. It wasn't no even when Ford got him, I mean, he wrapped him up, and that's what you got to do. You got to take his legs away from him, and they did a great job of taking his legs from him, and he wasn't able to get what he needed to get. And you know, we kept him where he needed to be at. And South Carolina is now 1-6 in the division, 3-6 on the year. Art is just they're at the bottom of the totem pole. And man, when you look at it, the bottom of the SEC looks ugly. It looks
yeah.
ugly. But you got Ole Miss. We got the Citadel next year. I mean next week. Not, I think after Washington State, I don't think there will be an overlooking of the Citadel looking at Florida. Um, the Florida game, which is a couple of weeks from now. Um, there's going to be so much talk. There's going to be so much narrative behind the Florida game. Um, is he going to Florida? Did they offer him this? There's rumors that they offered him 6 years, 82 million. It's so many, different reports out there. And there's going to be so much riding on that game. The thing that I am worried about, and I thought personally in that first half, I thought, okay, here we go again. And what I meant by here we go again is in that first half, how much, even if you, let's say he was leaving and he's going to take you with him, everybody's not going with him. How does that, how that affect? Because when you look at the top 15, what other team is dealing with this? And when people go to holler out, well, Ole Miss is just not that job. We're in the we're once again in the conversation of the playoffs. If we'd have had a playoff 3 years ago, we would have been in the playoffs. In the Hugh Freeze days, if we'd had a playoff a
He'd have
couple
made
of
it
those
twice.
years, we've been in the playoffs. So why is Ole Miss not the job? Why is it a stepping stone to somewhere else? When you look in the top 15 right now, you don't see no other team in that top 15 where the coach, this is a stepping stone to go somewhere else.
Because the national media can't. They know the big programs, and that's it. That's it. Ole Miss is what Ole Miss was 25 years ago in the national media's eye. Fair
And
or foul,
but
that's what they
Florida
think.
is not the same Florida. It's
But
not.
in the national media's eyes, Florida's Urban
Brian
Meyer,
Kelly
Steve Spurrier.
Brian Kelly proved that LSU, you're going to have to do something else. You just can't walk into LSU and say, this is LSU. That's not enough, not in this day and time, not with NIL. You just can't live off of the strength. I gotta give the head coach of Alabama, I gotta give him all the credit in the world, because to come behind the greatest coach in college history and deal with the scrutiny and still maintain, and here you are, got an opportunity to be, and I feel like they will be in the SEC championship and possibly in the top, have first round bye in the playoffs, in a situation that they were in. So it gets me that Ole Miss is looked at as a stepping stone job when we have been constantly in the mix for the past 10 years.
Well, they're
The past 10, 15 years, we have been somewhere in the mix in some of those years. Not all of the years, but we've been in there. What other school in the SEC can say that? Outside
outside of Georgia and
Alabama and
Alabama.
Georgia, what other school can say that?
That's
So why
it.
are we always the one?
Since 2020, they ranked third behind Alabama and Georgia in wins. And just to make a quick point about what you said about DeBoer, uh, you never, the saying is you never want to be the guy that replaces the guy.
Yeah.
He's bucked that trend.
Oh yeah.
You want to be the guy that replaces the guy that replaced the guy, and he's
he
bucked that.
He done an amazing job, because I can't imagine to have that aura over you. I mean, even the simple thing, man, when I took over the boys at Coffeyville, Coach Norris had just taken them to Jackson. That right there was too much pressure for me. Like, if I don't get to Jackson, I have failed. So I can't imagine following, Nick Saban, and yet holding. And when they lost to Florida State, I thought, okay, here come another one of those years. Alabama's about to be 2 losses, 3 losses, and man, they have did an amazing job. And outside of those 2 teams you just mentioned, if Kiffin leave, Ole Miss is a great job, and I believe we won't get just a anybody coach if he happened to leave. I think this job in our facilities and the money that we put up and what they're doing, we can get a good coach and still maintain a team. Now, I told you a couple of weeks ago, yeah, I like stability. I want Lane Kiffin to stay. So anybody that think, oh, he just don't like Lane, no, I want Lane Kiffin to stay, but I'm tired. I'm tired of is he leaving? Is he going somewhere? There's nothing to say, hey, guy, and maybe he doesn't talk to his players. Maybe he told his players, because his assistants can't talk to people. So maybe he made it clear, I'm not going nowhere. But as fans, the ones that pay, we want some comfort here. We want to know that, and I can't imagine that Florida game is going to be a madhouse.
Yeah, it will. I think that it's my understanding, and no one's really saying anything, but it's my understanding that they're not, Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin are not negotiating. That he's going to talk to whoever at the end of the year and hear what they got to say, and then he'll make a decision. And I think that even if the noise gets loud, he's just going to tell the team, hey, that's what happens when you have really good coaches and players and stuff. People are going to come want and get you. And, it doesn't happen everywhere else, because it's not like Lane Kiffin's just name gets thrown out there. Like, I legit believe Florida and LSU will one of them's going to offer it. It's not like it's just, blowing smoke. It's like people actually want your coach, and your coach is not just shutting it down. And, that's his right. But I do believe that I agree with you. I think it'll be hectic that week.
But, Coach,
the media will be loud.
I'm like this, and y'all hear me out, chat. If my wife keep on responding or listening to somebody that's inboxing her or texting her, I'm not talking to them, but why you keep on listening? If you keep on listening, eventually you're gonna see something that you want. And then that's what I'm saying, is that if we continue this cycle every 2 years, Every 2 years, we got to go through this. Every
Yeah.
2 years. I just want somebody that's just saying, you know what? Quit calling me. I'm married. Leave me alone. Don't contact me. I ain't leaving my wife. I don't want to hear what you. I don't even want to hear what you got to say. I don't even want to hear what you got to offer because you told me that money don't matter. That's what you got on. You got on Pat McAfee or whoever show it was, and you said money don't matter. So what else could it be? Because at Ole Miss, and maybe, do you want a challenge? Crap, I think winning a national championship at Ole Miss is a challenge enough. But as far as anything that you want, you're gonna get it. You're gonna
Yeah.
get everything that you want.
Yeah, I
So
just think it'll come down to like, and then here's another question that, I think the first question you're going to ask these programs is like, how is your NIL structured? Did you go ahead and pay everybody in the fall in your before the rev share money you get that rev share check? Because I think if you have to use rev share to pay this year's roster, and I don't know what the situation is at these jobs, I think that'll be disqualifying. I think he'll want to know something like that. I think he'll want to know, what's the actual NIL look like that's not rev share? How are we going to structure that? Is there a bigger package there? And whatever other resources. But I don't believe there's anything out there at the moment. Ole Miss has not proven that they can't match or do better than what these other programs are doing. So he may just be wanting to hear something out. He may just want to ask questions about why, what's gotten him here. I don't know. I don't know the man.
uh,
I don't know.
and it's to me it's just I think you put your team, you put them in a situation mentally. I one of my friends, he stay in Alabama, and matter of fact, he stay in Tuscaloosa, and he inboxed me last night, and he said, "Why do we always nosedive around this time?" And I don't think is I think the hurry up offense do play a part, but I also believe it's all of this the cloud of uncertainty. I go home. You know how kids, you go home and talk, and you call mom and dad, and they're like, "Well, is he gonna stay?" Uh, he say he is, but I don't know. I don't know. And if you got that in your mind that I'm not sure, then it affects you. It affects how you play. It's not trying to. I'm not trying to be affected, but these players and kids, even though yeah they want their money, but they also love their coach.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you if it gets weird for that Florida game, and you have a situation that something, say they drop it, the media is going to ask some questions that should be asked, and there'll be nobody. If it looks like something like Arkansas or something, which I don't believe Florida's good enough to make it look like that, but in 2022. But if you get to a situation where something like that happens, he has every right to be grilled by the media, and I mean that's what's going to happen.
If he keep this open, then that week is not going to be about you. And that's another thing. It's taken away from what your team is doing. And maybe this is his strategy to keep the stress off of them about what they're trying to get to. I don't know. He's one of those coaches that
I mean,
do all of
coach,
those
you
crazy
had
things.
a 16-point win at night in the vault, and the last 5 minutes of the game was just graphics of Kiffin at what he's done at Ole Miss and should he stay or should he go and what he's been telling reporters. I mean, you don't even hear about like, hey,
What the
so here's Ole Miss's path to the playoff and here's how it could work out. You don't hear none of that,
He's
and I'm not.
he's
That's just
consuming
me.
all of the news. Coach, you said it right. He's consuming all of the news because this is what they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the team that's doing great. The only thing they want to talk about is that the fact that there's a possibility. And then coming into that, like I said, that Florida game, that game, you
It's going to
finna
be a
play
weird
a
week.
team. Oh my God, you finna play a team. And what it reminds me of, Coach, is when Tuberville was going to Auburn. And I'll never forget it. I was at the Egg Bowl that night. And the state fans and I'll tell you what, state fans are gonna be ready to eat this up. They're gonna be calling every team, they're gonna be chanting every team. But that game, I'll never forget this. We were sitting there and you can hear the fans yell Auburn. And I said, these are the dumbest fans. And because, we didn't have all this social media stuff. I didn't know what was going on. And the Mississippi State fans were screaming Auburn. I was like, what are they screaming Auburn for? Now, hindsight is 2020. I remember there was 2 routes where they ran a one-man route. Tuberville was done. He was done before the game started. Like, you got Romero rolling out the throw to one man. Yeah, he's going to get sacked because you only got a one-man route. So can you imagine?
Hey, and Ashley said on TikTok, what if he announces the day before the Florida game? And that would be really cool, but they're not, from my understanding, there's no negotiation going on right now. Like, if that's going to happen, he's going to have to start, his representation's going to, they're going to have to figure it out. I just don't, the timetables, it's looking like this is going to be like a late December, January thing before we're going to know anything. I just, that's what it's pointing to. I'm not saying that couldn't happen,
But even if that happened, Coach, what? That's something. Why have because now they're gonna, when your players are up, they're gonna be asking them about it. They're gonna be asking them about it. Now they're focused on, I don't want to go to this media thing because I don't want to answer questions about my coach going to Florida on the week of the Florida game. So even if they announce an extension, yeah, that might boost the fans. It'll get us all rared up. But you done had your players, stressed with this crap all week, and now and then we're going to Mississippi State. We're going to State. They are going to eat this up. They're going to have, it will be all, you're going to see Florida signs. You're going to see LSU signs. You might even see some Auburn signs. They're going to eat this up, and all that does is fuel. They don't give the team more fuel that what we're about to play.
I mean, I agree with you. I just think that, that's not how he's thinking about it, and I don't think it's going to change.
Somebody in the chat, my chat said, I just want to win. I could care less. I was on the team that lost to Jacksonville State. Man, I wish you'd have heard story time with me because I was at that game. You got to go back and listen to that episode. I think it was episode 17 or 18. Man, the fans were delirious that game. I was at that game. So, brother, I know how you feel. So, and like I said, let's make this. Ole Miss is doing something amazing right now. Let's build, man. Let's talk about us getting to the playoffs and possibly hosting a playoff game at Ole Miss. Can you imagine that, Coach? We're hosting a game. We got an opportunity to do that, man.
You got a chance to be the, I think that when these playoff rankings come out Tuesday, they're going to be I think there's a chance they could be higher than Oregon. You're going to be the 6th hosting. You're going to host probably someone like I saw today. Virginia was ESPN's guess. You would host Virginia. And regardless of who it is, you play Memphis, you play, whoever. That's the biggest game. That's the biggest game that would have ever been played on that campus so far.
So that's where we at right now. You got the Citadel, you got Florida, and that week, and then we wrap it up with the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl is on the 20. What is that? 28th. What is that, Coach?
Friday morning.
Friday. Okay, it's a Friday morning. I think I'm gonna watch that from the house. I don't think I'm going to Starkville because their parking is horrible and terrible. But yeah, that is the goal. If 11-1 is man, that is an amazing season. So I hope they get all of this figured out. Lane, if you listening to me, man, whatever decision you gonna do, brother, go ahead and make a decision so we can focus on this. If you're going, let's push them on and let's ride you out right. If you're staying, let's tell everybody that you're staying, man, and let's go. Coach, the rest of the SEC, man, I get too passionate about this thing. I get mad. I be trying not to get mad. I'm trying my best, y'all. I try not to get mad, but I get so, you got to understand, I've been an Ole Miss fan since 1989. I'm happy. We always talked about why we're not relevant. Now we're relevant. So I want to stay relevant. I love it. But the rest of the SEC, you got number 5 Georgia beating that team that we got to see in a couple of weeks, who played a decent game, but I think because they played decent enough because they were in Florida. But I think it'd have been different in Georgia. But they won 24-20. Georgia did. Got the wrong mouse. Texas beat Vandy. Vandy pushed very hard to get back. Scored 21 in the fourth quarter, but they came up short. Coach, they had their onside kick.
Yeah, they
And
did. They should have got that
three
one.
hands that touched the ball.
Yeah, kind of Vegas just kind of makes you wonder sometime, man. That game was,
Oh,
well, it was a two. What was it? Texas minus 2.5,
yeah.
and they're up 24 starting the fourth quarter, and it ends up being a 3-point game. But I thought, hey, shout out to Texas. I think they're figuring out how to
It was
protect.
34-10 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think they're figuring out how to protect Arch. They give him, he had a lot of easy throws, some access throws, some screens, some triangle read stuff that I think plays his game to his game better. And uh, Vandy had some terrible, in the first half they would do some good things and they'd have penalties. And I said on Thursday night that they were, one of the best teams in third down average distance, and they were in third and long the whole first half, and had some turnovers, had some bad situations, but Texas looks like they're figuring it out a little bit.
So the question that we got early on in the chat: if Texas wins out, and when you look at Texas schedule coming up, they got to go to Georgia next week. They got Arkansas at home, and they get A&M at home. If they win out, let's say they go and beat Georgia, um, do they replace Georgia in the playoffs?
I just think that this thing's going to work itself
If
out.
they beat Georgia and win out, do they replace Georgia?
I think it's going to work itself out where I think if you get to 10-2, you're going to be safe. You're just in. I don't think they have to replace anyone. I think they could just get in at 10-2. But I'm going to tell you, and if that game was in Austin, I would, it's Sunday. I've got a lot of thinking on it to do, but that's just a tough, that's a tough game to go to. Georgia's what they've lost one game since 2020 at home. It's
Should have
a,
won.
it's
Should have
a
lost two.
should have lost two, and they'd have been two in the same season. It's just, but I think it's working itself out now to where because their resume's solid, man. They're going to have 2 wins over top 10 teams. Their worst, they got a bad loss to Florida, but their other loss would be a 7-point loss at Ohio State. I mean, from a resume standpoint, 10-2, I think they're going to be okay.
But losing to Georgia, I mean, losing to Texas.
And I agree. And Coach will tell you, I've said it every week that you're not safe at 10-2, but I think I don't think Ole Miss's 10-2 would look as good as some other 10-2s. But there's going to be some 10-2s out there just based on some wins you have that are going to look good. Because if Ole Miss goes 10-2, that means they stepped on a landmine in November.
You lost
if
Florida.
If Texas goes 10-2, for the recency bias sake of the conversation,
they just beat Georgia.
They're going to have an incredible late October and November.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. And I think that, I've said it a lot that I think that 10-2 teams will get left out. I just think you have to decipher what 10-2 looks the best. And I think, other than I know Florida was a terrible loss, but they've got some good wins. And then you pick up another. If that means you picked up another win, that means you would have a win over Oklahoma, the win you got over Vanderbilt, who was number 9 when you beat them, and then Georgia's 5. Those are some good wins. I think it's hard at that 10-2 to leave them out.
They would have to win out, and that would give them wins over number 5 Georgia, and possibly number 3 or number 2 Texas A&M. And the one thing about Texas is they show up for the big game. I don't know what happens to them, and we got to understand they lost Ohio State 14-7.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't like
played them very well. Just
they lost to Florida at Florida, 29-21. Outside of those 2 games, even though the optics didn't look good, they should have lost to Kentucky, should have lost to Mississippi State. Even though the optics don't look good, when you look at their resume is not bad.
Nope.
And I think if they beat Georgia,
and 10-2 also requires them to beat A&M on the final week of the season. I mean, you're telling me like they're in, like it's I
think Georgia is out if that happens in that scenario and both of them are 10-2. I think Georgia's out.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I mean, they got it. It's still a tough way to go because They got a gauntlet. They're not Alabama. Alabama went through their phase and handled their business in that. But in this part of the year, like I said, Texas do show up for the big games, and uh, I'm I gotta give him I gotta give Stark his respect because at first I was wondering was Stark gonna get fired. I thought was he and even him leaking he was interested in the NFL. I think he was putting his exit plan together because I think Stark thought he was gonna get fired. But I think now that they kind of rally this thing together, I think now I think he got the team back buying into whatever he's selling, and I think they're gonna be okay now.
I think
Um,
the biggest thing for them is they figured out some things on the offensive line, and they've, you know, I go back to to those early games in the year where they were asking Arch to push, play action, push these balls down the field, and I think um I think they've figured some things out that Arch is good at, and they're keeping him upright, and I
yeah.
think that was their biggest issue, before that.
Well, we called this the elimination game, and Oklahoma defeated Tennessee 33-27. That puts Tennessee out of it. They're done. You are not 3 losses. You're not getting in
Yeah,
nothing but
you're out.
you pretty much gonna have to wrestle with are your kids going to show up for the bowl game. Oklahoma, they had some big losses, and plus they're 3-2 in the SEC. So I don't think they're gonna. I think they're out as well, regardless of what they do the
Well,
rest
they
of the
got
year.
Alabama this weekend.
Yeah,
It's
well
either this weekend or next weekend
that's three losses right there.
at Bama.
I pull it. That's and you wonder can well it's this weekend. You wonder can Oklahoma defense pull it off because they did go to Tennessee and they beat Tennessee at Tennessee. We'll get to the rest of the top 25 in just a second, guys. We will get to that Louisville. We're just gonna knock out the SEC real quick. Um, they did go to Tennessee and beat Tennessee. It's not saying, Alabama is playing great football right now. That stadium I've been to that stadium before. I hate it. The aura there is just, it's like when you walk in, it's like whatever you got on, your clothes just start to mold if you ain't got crimson on. It's just, if you got any other colors on, it start to stink and mold because that place is just different. And their defense will have to play a a great. They can't get by with good. Their defense will have to play a great game. Mateer would have to play a great game, and not saying it's not possible because they could go there and get themselves back in the conversation if they win their last three. So, um, it's still a possibility. But I'm like you. I don't think that they got great in their resume right now. And I do believe they get their third loss this week and they will be done. Mississippi State got their first SEC win. So now I ain't got to worry about extra motivation in the Egg Bowl. You got your SEC win now. Go ahead and take this L on November the 28th and go on about your business, okay? Because now that they got that out the way, I wanted them to get this win. I needed them to beat Arkansas because I did not want that hanging over. And the way they won was very impressive. One thing about Mississippi State, they will not go quietly into the night.
No, they're gonna, you could say what you want about them because they've had some heartbreaking games where you could say,
Yes.
you know what, it's hard to get back off the mat, but they do it. They seem to try to do it every week, and they finally got over the hump. Uh, shout out to Kamario Taylor. I kind of wonder if there's a quarterback battle brewing there, but
Mm.
you say they ain't got the extra motivation. Well, now they've got the motivation to get to bowl eligibility, so you could be playing Mississippi State not only for your playoff seeding, but them getting into a bowl game.
Oh, good gracious alive. Well, they got to play. They got to play Georgia. They got to play at Missouri. So go ahead and beat Missouri. Go ahead and get your bowl eligibility out the way, and that way you can just go ahead and just
That
show
might
up.
be the toughest finish in the country. You
Yes,
got Georgia, Missouri, Ole Miss to
and
finish it out. That's crazy.
and we need them to go 0-3 or 1-3 or 1-2, but one of the losses need to be Ole Miss. And the story of the night: Kentucky beats Auburn 10-3, and after that game, they said, "Come here, Hugh Freeze. We are tired of what you're doing. want you to come to the office right now. Bring your keys. Bring your playbook. And get your all your stuff packed up. We're letting you go. The Auburn Tigers let go of Hugh Freeze this week. Let me ask you something. I understand he wanted to get back to the SEC, but when somebody don't really like you and you're their fifth choice, sometimes is it okay to just say, "No, I'll just wait till I'm somebody's first choice."
I think that was one of the biggest issues for him, was that, and rightfully so, because after the Lane Kiffin documentary, I believe he didn't just say it, but his daughter pretty much said it for him. He was going to Auburn.
Yeah.
So when the media, the fans, and everybody pushed you as you were going to Auburn, it does, you're probably, the second choice probably ain't as liked. And I think that's what some of these jobs are going to have a problem with this go round. But for whatever reason, I mean, he recruited well there.
Better recruiting classes than us.
Defensively, they're really good in my opinion. They just never, and maybe Jackson Arnold was overhyped coming out of high school. He didn't, Robbie Ashford didn't pan out for him. Who's the other? Peyton Thorne? He just offensively, it just never worked.
For somebody who's supposed to be known for having a very creative offense, I just never saw it while he was at Auburn. It just never panned out. And maybe you're trying to catch that genie in a bottle that you had somewhere else. Maybe I can just now. Granted, when he was at Liberty, you're not facing SEC every week. Yeah, you're gonna you're gonna average 600-700 yards. Yeah, you can coach from the press box in a hospital bed. But when you get back to the SEC and you got to deal with Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia and Ole Miss and State and apparently Kentucky, uh, you know, I think he tried to live in the past with present players.
Well, his offense, you go back to Ole Miss, they just recruited big physical wide receivers that they could scheme one on one and take shots like they could do the RPO with the hitch or the fade tag to it, and that was a lot. Which and you got to have a quarterback that can do that too. He had Chad Kelly at Ole Miss, he had Bo Wallace at Ole Miss that could do those things,
Big guy.
and he didn't. He never had that type of quarterback. He has I think Cam Coleman could be one of the best receivers in the country. I think he's a freshman or a sophomore, and to me, the offensive philosophy looked like it was the same in 2015 at Ole Miss. There wasn't a lot of evolving going on, and at Liberty, he was probably the best. Probably one of the best coaches in that league, and he did flip some recruits, and he just out schemed people at Liberty, and it just it did not work at Auburn.
So it goes back to the conversation I had just on last week. Do coaches got to start looking at the cost of living, going to different places? I understand the money is better, but is the cost of living worth it?
If they're going to get the buyout, yeah, I'll go. I'll tell you right now.
Buyout?
I think he got $15 million.
15 million?
I think so.
Well, hey, best of luck to you, Hugh Freeze. At least this time you was dismissed off of what you did on the field. Just looking at next week, and I want to ask you a question on these two games right here, and then we'll go into the rest of the top 25. Right now, the opening line got Georgia at a 7.5 favorite over State, but Alabama's a 10.5 favorite over LSU. Does that shock you?
Yeah, because the Alabama LSU is kind of the same thing with Georgia Florida. I think nobody knows. In my opinion, I don't think a lot of things change with interim coaches. But when you get
Bob Stoops is a 34 million buy. 34
yeah,
million
he's making like $10 million a year.
Holy smokes!
They're paying him.
Why?
Because he did have. I mean, he's the winningest coach in Kentucky football, and he had about a 3-year run there where he was 9-3, 8-4, and for Kentucky, I mean, that was a big deal.
Mark Stoops. Oh my goodness! Wow. Well, they're going to be stuck with that, and nobody's going to. Do they have enough money to buy him out? I mean,
The way they were celebrating after the game last night, the AD and everything, I
Locked up
think,
another year. He's
yeah,
locked up an extension.
he got him another year. He was like, they were like, we can totally sell this to get the buyout now.
Yeah, yeah. They were celebrating. So let's just look at the rest.
Colton, let's I like making sure everybody gets shout out in the chat. He made a good point about um the transfer portal with all these coaches changes, and you better believe it because the tampering portal or pre-portaling, whatever you want to call it. All these players have been contacted. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
there's going to be a lot of going in and taking players. It is what it is, but it's definitely happened. I agree with you, Cole.
Well, let's look at the rest of the top 25. You had number one Ohio State shutting out Penn State in the second half. They beat them 38-14. Ohio State just looks, oh my God,
Yeah, shout out to Penn State. They did some things that frustrated them. Some overload stuff, some motioning stuff, some
17-14 at halftime.
some different things. But man, go watch them do their run fits. Go watch that defense. Like I know everybody talks about how impressive the quarterback and stuff is. Man, when that defense gets downhill and fits a gap, I mean
Wow.
it's pretty. And
Well,
that's not a who you're playing thing. When you're willing to go step in when you're right, like they're not wrong. It's hard to fool them. They just kind of got out leveraged in some situations yesterday, but they were. I think they're. I thought I was very. I enjoyed watching their defense.
and they got a running back named Bo Jackson. You gotta love it, man. They got a running back named Bo Jackson. You gotta love it. But I hope everybody wins out because I want to see Ohio State versus Indiana in the Big Ten championship.
I do too, because I know that'll be the next score you read off. There was a moment where I was like, "Is Indiana about to play with their food?" You saw Maryland and they fired their coach today too. Uh, you saw them hit a broken play, kind of explosive for a touchdown, and Indiana was like, "That's all right. We'll go ahead and shut you down the rest of the game and score 30 or whatever unanswered."
They went ballistic and beat Maryland 55-10, and
Crazy.
I just hope they win out. Please, football gods, do me a favor. I want to see Ohio State versus Indiana. What a world we live in now that we're talking about Indiana as a football powerhouse. Wow. Wow. Man, who would ever thought? Georgia Tech, man, they may have just lost their bid into the playoffs because their schedule is 10 and they cannot be 10-2 going. They're not going to be 10-2 going into the
No, because I think in my live earlier, I looked at it. I think Louisville's got the best odds in that conference of winning out. Maybe Pittsburgh, but I think it's Virginia and Louisville's to lose, and I think I like Louisville over Virginia in a rematch. I think Georgia Tech's fallen into a tough spot.
Yeah, because they got to play. They got to play Georgia at the end of the season, and I think even if they get past those two games, they're going to lose.
They beat Georgia. If they were to pull that one out, that'd be a huge resume game. But it's tough, man. These are just, I think, at best, the Big 12 and the ACC is not getting more than 2.
Coach, and I think only their champion is getting in. That's it, and I don't think they'll be in the top 4. I think whoever the ACC champion will be, they will get the only.
I think that's Louisville.
They will
I don't
get
think
the
it's Virginia.
Bid. They'll get the only bid for the ACC. NC State beat them 48-36. Miami, they're done. They went SMU.
Yesterday was just a tough day for that conference.
Well, they had Eric Dickerson back, and he was he didn't have his Jerry curl in, and they was pumped up and they was fired up. Him and his running buddy, and man, SMU came with it, and they beat Miami 26-20, and basically just bumped Miami out of their chances to make it in. Also,
I said, thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it, Chris. Notre Dame, once again, Won't nobody help me out, and they will be a 10-2 team that make it in. I guarantee. Matter of fact, Notre Dame could be 9-3 and is going to get in because they love Notre Dame. Everybody loves Notre Dame. It makes me sick. And I thought Boston College will show up for me, but then they 1-7 record showed up first, and I'm looking at Notre Dame's schedule. Please, can I find a loss somewhere? Can Navy beat them? Can Pitt beat them? Will Syracuse beat them? Can Stanford beat them? I don't know, but I'm getting very frustrated over this.
Yeah, I'm interested in what the committee thinks of them. I think they're going to be right there in that 10 spot they are now,
Yeah,
probably. And can Navy get them? I don't know. They lost to North Texas yesterday,
they
but
didn't look good yesterday. You got Texas Tech beating Kansas State 43-20. You got Virginia beating California at California 31-21. Louisville beat Virginia Tech 28-16. My shocker of the night was Utah beating the brakes off of Cincinnati 45-14. Um, that looks like, does that put Utah in the driver's seat in the Big 12 now?
no.
No, no, that's
I
still,
think that's BYU and Texas Tech's playground,
yeah.
and um, I think that's because my thing with Utah is from a committee. Like if I'm thinking from a committee standpoint, the two best teams you've played is BYU and Texas Tech, and you lost to them. They're going to probably go be in the that those two teams could likely be in the conference championship game. So I'm going to put them in over you, and I don't. I think the Big 12's working their way into the same conversation the ACC is, where are they going to get two bids or one bid because they're not getting three. So
No, no, that's not happening. The Big Ten and SEC is going to really plug in the majority of those slots, and
and
I
that's
think,
why it will be a 16 team playoff next year
yeah,
because
it's
this is
coming.
the
It's coming.
last year. The expansion's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. You got Virginia beating Houston, 3 and they was 2-6 Virginia at the time, but they beat Houston 45-35. USC beat Nebraska 21-17, and that wraps up the top 25. Chat, I do want to let you know that make sure you join us Tuesday night. The first bowl rankings come out on Tuesday. So me and Coach Benji, we will come on Tuesday night so we can all discuss what the committee is thinking and what direction they're going. Coach, I did want to look at a couple of more teams before we move on to anything else. Clemson. Clemson had a bad loss to Duke yesterday, and Dabo had a very weird press conference.
Yeah, he did. He said, I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna walk through this door. My athletic director standing there. He might fire me.
It was very strange. And have Dabo done enough though to where he can write his own narrative on how he leaves Clemson?
I think he has somewhat of a leash, but I I think it all depends on what. I kind of wonder about expand. Like this is a bigger picture topic, but like, what does the ACC look like by 2030?
Mm.
And if you think it looks different and Clemson could be in the SEC, do you go ahead and start building to that and make the move, or what? I think there's a bigger picture conversation to be had there. I don't think in this era, depending on what Clemson wants to do, I don't think anybody's going to sit around and be able to write their own legacy anymore,
Well,
other than probably, uh, you know, Ryan Day, and I'm gonna say that's about it.
Coach, they got 4 games left, and they're 3-5.
I kind of agree with Colton too. I think he wants that bye. I think he's kind of over it. I think this era of football doesn't fit
Yeah.
him. I think I'm with you.
And I get it. I mean, crap. I coach on the high school level of basketball, and the game unleft me. Things are different. The way you coach, how you coach is different. That's even on the high school level. So I can't imagine. You can't go into a place and sell your program anymore. That's not enough. Parents, kids are not. They don't care that you get to run down a hill, and it's a wonder ain't nobody got hurt running down that freaking hill because that's a dangerous hill to be
Even
running down.
him, even
Change the
him,
way
he's
you
running
come to the
down.
field. That's number one. There's no telling how many hamstrings you untweaked trying to come down that freaking hill. But they need to change that. But you can't go in people's houses no more talking about your program. You got to talk about the one thing that Dabo don't want to talk about. It's the same reason that Nick Saban left. It's the same reason that a lot of them are not coming back to it. Whether you want, I think it pains him that, and then you get a kid in there and you unpaid this kid $4 or $5 million, and that kid ain't good enough, and now you got pressure to play that kid. I don't
And
think
that,
that's the style.
and I don't know if the university's behind it either. Like they're not. This hasn't been something that I feel like it's not just Dabo. I feel like the whole administration's like we don't want to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I just think I don't know if he wants to leave or not, but
But I
man,
do think if on the bigger picture scale, if expansion's on the horizon, they're going to have it.
coach,
They're
and
going
I
to have
got
to
a
have that
question.
conversation.
Coach, and I got a question for you. Do you think now you're going to see more, and even you, Coach Benji, do you think now you're going to see more NFL coaches come down to the college level because they understand the salary? Because
No, no, absolutely
you don't
not.
think so?
Because why? Because up there in the NFL, when they get the talent acquired, that talent's under contract.
What?
Down
Not.
here, they
All right.
work
Let me
their tail off, and
let me
it's
change that question. Let me change that question. Not that they're
and
going
not
to
not unless the
gravitate.
system changes.
Not that they're going to gravitate there, but do you think more schools are going to go after more professional coach, not head coaches? I mean coordinators. But I think
You could have that conversation. Yeah,
because
you can
I
have that
think now
conversation.
you need more than just a rah rah guy. You need somebody that know how to handle a salary cap.
Well, and they're going to have to. They're going to have to do something different because everybody wants a sitting head coach, and not everybody's. Or they talk about. I said it earlier. They talk about championship caliber coach. There's only three active coaches that's won a championship.
Yep,
You know,
Kirby,
you can't.
Ohio
You're
State. Who else? Who's the other one?
Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney.
That's it.
Um, you're not for me or my opinion. You know, you're wanting to hire all these sitting head coaches, you're going to have to come up with something else because they're
Yeah.
not hiring. Coordinators aren't getting hired. College coordinators aren't getting hired.
No.
I get asked about it all the time. I'm like, he's not on anybody's hot board.
Mm-mm.
So and so, whoever.
So I think Dabo is getting to that point where hey, it's just time to do something else. One more college question, and I will go over the NFL scores real quick before we get off to keep to
And hang
update.
on, talk about. Let's just. I like this kind of conversation, but Colton says they need a cap. Well, I don't believe there'll ever be one because you have so many. How many FBS programs is there? 130 something, some odd, maybe more than that. So you're gonna. How hard is it going to be to get representation from
Yeah,
not only to get the representation, but then to get everybody to agree on something?
that's the problem. We can't
You know,
even agree on a playoff structure. Um, how can we get? How are these universities going to get together to agree on a collective bargain?
I think it
And
would be awesome to see it. It would be a step in the right direction. I just, you know, I don't, and I'm not the one that's got to make that decision, thank God, but I just don't know how you do it. That's my thing.
yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. So, um, unfortunately, man, it's just the era that we're in now. We're in this era, and we're just basically going to have to deal with what's going on in this era. One more college question that I do want to handle, and Colorado lost 52-17 on yesterday at home. At home, and that makes 2 weeks in a row that Colorado have allowed 50 points. Uh, and one was at Utah, and and Colorado now is sitting at 3-6, and they have to go to West Virginia. They got Arizona State and they got Kansas State. They will not be bowl eligible. I don't see them winning the next three games. I asked you a question off air, and you made me go look at some things. Um, I asked you was, maybe is this it for Dion? And you said, well, what have they done in the past? And when I went and pulled up Colorado's record in the past, since 2006, Colorado has only had. This is not counting the COVID year, but since 2006, Colorado has only had two winning seasons. One of them was Mike McIntyre. He went 10-4 in 2016, and Dion went 9-4 on last year. Now, during the COVID year, uh, Carl Dorrell went 4-2, and that's who Dion replaced. So in 18 years, they have only had two, or if you want to count the 4-2 year, they've had three winning seasons. Um, I think this has been it's been the worst year that you could possibly have. Um, Dion health wise, all the stuff that has gone on. And one of the things I brought up a long time ago, we talked about this at the beginning of the season. I said that they need to change who they recruit. I don't think high school and first year transfer players are built to play at Colorado because of the style of coaches that they have. I think they need more experienced players, people that has been in college system to you might have to do these 1 year players. I think they're gonna have to get players that got 2 to 3 years experience in order for them to get um, I, I don't think they're going to ever be able to compete for a Big 12 championship because they lost a dog. I mean, they lost a Heisman Trophy winner. you know, you lost who probably should have won the Maxwell or should have been, in the top three. So you lost. I think his players, even in the transfer portal, 1 year players cannot handle these coaches. I think they need three. Now you got players that's 24, 25 years old and is playing college ball. Those are the players that Colorado's going to need to recruit.
I agree with you, and I think that maybe this rev share stuff can help push them into that market. I don't know what I don't know the landscape of Colorado and how that works. But I agree with you. I do think that they need to utilize the portal more, and if that means that you're just like hey, I'm going to come in here get this year of polishing under former NFL players that are now coaches, so that I can get to the league. Like he should have enough to market something
Yeah,
something like that. But my overall thing is like when you look at the health of the man,
yeah,
I'm just more concerned about you know he can be valuable in a lot of ways other than coach.
yeah.
So I kind of wonder about that. And I'm not saying I want Dion out of coaching. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Well, I
But
do. I do. I
I
do.
think
I
that
hate to see it like this. I do.
it's got to be tough, like having surgeries in the season,
Yeah.
and then showing up at practice like he's not taking
He
days
don't
off.
have a freaking bladder, man.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I I hate like I just hate to see it for him.
I love Dion. I hate seeing him. They're 1-5 in the conference this year. I just hate seeing him like this. I just wish he would just man. I love Dion. I just wish he'd get out of coaching. Not because he can't coach, but it's just so much. It's so much on his physical body. I just wish he would just get out of coaching. Um, Coach, I do want to go over some NFL scores before we get off. The Seahawks. I said on last week, I said the Washington Commanders. I do believe that last year was an anomaly. Uh, Daniels was such a new face that people did not know how to prepare for him. I think they know how to prepare for him now. The Seahawks are beating them at Washington, 31-7,
Wow.
as we speak, in the third quarter. You had the Bears dropping 47. There was no defense over there. The Bears beat the Bengals 47-42. Joe Old Man Flacco went 31 for 47 for 470 yards and four touchdowns. Coach, are you? Do you mean to tell me that Dylan Gabriel, you telling me that Flacco couldn't have stayed your quarterback at Cleveland?
Apparently not.
Oh my gosh.
He's gone to Cincinnati and found the fountain of youth.
Again, every
Because
time he goes somewhere.
he outdueled Rodgers in the Uncle Bowl, and now
Oh my
he's
gosh. They lost this game, but he had 470 yards passing. The Vikings, they beat the Lions today, 27 to 24 at Detroit.
Hmm.
The Panthers got back on the winning way. They beat the Packers today, 16 to 13 at Green Bay. Is it time to give Bryce Young some love? I'm not worried about Bryce Young. Dallas Cowboys, you had a running back in Rico Dowdle, and you let him go. And right now, he is blazing the NFL. He had 25 carries today, coach, for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers.
I'd get the job done.
Jerry Jones, you talking about how good of a general manager you are horrible. You got the chart. Oh, my bad, coach.
Go ahead.
The Chargers.
We're in the tank, man.
Beat the Titans. Who y'all trying to get? Because you can't be getting another quarterback. You're gonna get the number 1 pick. So who's gonna be that number 1 pick?
I have no idea. They'll find a way to screw it up.
The Chargers,
or they'll pick somebody. They'll make a franchise-changing pick, and then they won't pay him when it's time to pay him. I don't care who they pick.
They'll trade him to the Steelers or somewhere,
yeah.
or trade him to Baltimore. Bring him to us. The Chargers beat the Titans 27 to 20. The Falcons, the freaking Patriots are starting to look like the early 2000 Patriots right now. They beat the Falcons 24 to 23. The 49ers beat the Giants 34 to 24. McCaffrey is basically just eating up the total yards. Him and Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons are really eating up total yards, but freaking McCaffrey is he qualified for comeback player of the year? Because I mean he was hurt last year and he's always hurt. So
yeah,
so he should be in the running every year because he's always hurt. The Steelers beat the Colts 27 to 20. I really didn't need that to happen. The Steelers broke their 2-game losing streak. And they stopped Jonathan Taylor. Taylor did not have 100 yards rushing today. Daniel Dimes, he did have 342 yards passing, but it wasn't enough. The Broncos went to Houston and beat the Texans 18 to 15. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Raiders on a 68-yard field goal for the winner. 68. This is not preseason. He kicked a 68-yard field goal in overtime to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they improved to 5-3, and the Raiders are 2-6. The Saints, the Raiders, and the Texans are all fighting.
Thank you, Mel. Got to shout out everybody
for that number 1 pick. You got the Rams defeating the Saints 34 to 10, and the Bills handled the Chiefs and stopped their winning streak, beating them 28 to 21 on Thursday night. The Ravens improved to 3-5. Lamar Jackson came back. He threw for 4 touchdowns. Blase. They beat the Dolphins 28 to 6. And on Monday Night Football, you got the Cardinals going to the Cowboys. That will be a boring game, one I will not watch. So, Coach, man, we had a lot to cover tonight, man, and I think we did a pretty good job tonight. And now we got to get ready for Tuesday night.
Yeah,
ready for Tuesday night. We get the bowl rankings. We appreciate everybody in the chat.
Yeah, shout out
everybody on Facebook. Nate Liggins, y'all should have cheated. You probably would have won. Tennessee is out the playoffs, Nate. Sorry for you, my buddy. Everybody in the chat, TikTok, man, we love you. Thank you. Thank you for everybody that shared gifts with us. Thank you for everybody that chatted with us. Man, y'all make this show roll. We thank you for everything that you have done for us. We appreciate you. Coach, man, I didn't get a chance to catch your show, but I'm going to go back and look at your show tonight. Man, I like looking at your show because I like to do live interactions. I do say this, though. Man, when I give messages, you need to respond to me. You be waiting too late and you don't respond to my stuff.
I struggle with getting a thought out while reading a thought. I got to get better.
Well, we are the Coach and Coach podcast. We appreciate everybody. This is the 20th episode, Coach.
We made it.
The 20th episode, man. We thank everybody that have made the Coach and Coach podcast what it is, and we want you to continue on. We're pushing for 100, so keep on following us. Remember, if you wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find the Coach and Coach podcast. Google us, you'll find us. Subscribe, and until we see you on Tuesday night. This is Coach Marks, the defensive coordinator. He's Coach Benji. He's the offensive coordinator. And we are the Coach and Coach podcast. See you when you see. We'll see you when we see you. We'll see you on Tuesday night.